Big tech interviews are broken. I went from a crushing 30% pass rate to 80% pass rate and offers from TikTok, Amazon, and Microsoft, not by reading more lead code, but by using this three-step communication framework they don't teach you. Hi everyone, my name is Chang. This is not a bootcamp advice. This is an insider playbook for every software engineer. Stay with me because at the end of this video, I will share the one sentence I used during the final call that increased my offer by 15%. So, let's get started. So the technical interview start. Here's where 90% of candidates immediately fail. Why? Because with the 2025 hiring trend, shift away from the purest algorithms, they are testing your engineering disciplines under pressure. It is no longer just about finding the answer. It's about demonstrating a professional's reliable process from getting there. To pass, you need to use this three-step protocol. So let's run the real-world scenario here. Your interviewer say, given a list of servers log, find the top K most frequent IP address. In this case, the amateur hear this and immediately think about HashMap and heap. However, the professional press pause on this. First, you need to clarify. You don't make a single assumptions. This is the most crucial step. You are moving from a candidate being tested to a consultant diagnosing a problem. For this case, you can say, that's great problems. Before I begin, I need to clarify a few things to make sure I'm building the right solutions. First, scale. How large is this list of logs? Are we talking about millions of entries that can fit in the memories on a single machine? Or billions? That's what requires a distributed approach. These are the most important questions. Second, data format. What is the format of the IP address? Are there all guarantees to be valid IPv4 string, or could there be IPv6, or even more forms entries that I need to handle? Third, precisions. What if there is a type in frequencies for the K element? For example, if K is 3, and the third, fourth, and the fifth most frequent IPs all have the same count, which one should I return? If you ask these questions before jumping into the solution, the interviewer will think, these persons think about scale, edge case, and requirement. They are acting like seniors on my teams already. You have fundamentally de-risked yourself in their eyes. Second, you propose your high-level plan. After that, the interviewers will answer all the questions that you need to clarify. Now you go to the next steps. You need to propose your high-level plan. In these steps, you can begin saying like, thank you for clarifying. Assuming the data fit the memories, and we only need to handle valid IPv4, my initial approach would be using a hash map to count the frequencies of each IP address. This would be a single pass, as would take big of n times, where n is number of log. Then, to find the top K elements, I would use a min heap of size K. I would iterate through my hash map and then adding elements to the heap. If the heap is full and the new element is larger than the minimums, I will pop the minimums and insert the new one. This part would take big of n log K time. The total complexities would be dominated by the heap. Does that sound like a reasonable approach to you? Now the interviewer might push back. They might say something like, that works, but what if K is very large? The big O of n log K steps might be too slow. When you hear something like this, don't be scared. This is not a failure, it is an invitation. You can respond like, that is a great point. If K is large, a heap might not be optimal. An alternative would be using the selections algorithms like quick select. We could find the K elements in average times of big of n, and then we could use filters on the elements with the higher frequencies. That would be faster on average. With the trade-off of worst-case scenarios, we have big O n squared complexities. Though that is rare in practice. You are just demonstrating you can discuss complex trade-off, a key seniors level skill. You will hear a lot of back and forth discussions, and only after they agree with your approach, you will do your code, narrating your thought process as you go. Remember, there is not one size fits all. At Google, they will almost always push you on scalability. Be prepared to discuss how your solutions would change if the log could not fit in the memory. For example, you could use MapReduce. At Microsoft, They value robustness. They may ask how you would handle malformed log entries or error. At Meta, they often prioritize speed of executions and practical solutions. So your proposed steps should focus on the most direct, pragmatic solution first. Now, here are the 3 mistakes that get candidate rejects during this phase. The first mistake would be immediately suggesting the most complex and optimal solutions. This can come off as arrogant and inflexible. The fact is, start with the simple working solutions and then discuss optimizations. It shows better judgment. Mistake 2. The silent coder. You write the perfect code but say nothing. The fact is, the interviewers can give you partial credit for your thought and may assume you are stuck. If you need a moment, you can just say that is a great question. Let me take 15 seconds to think through the implications of that. So the key takeaway from here is stop trying to prove you're the smartest coder. Start proving you're the most reliable engineer. With all of that, you will pass the technical screens. But the behavioral interviews is where they decide if they will actually want to work with you. At Amazon, there is 50% of your loop, guided by their leadership principles. You know the STAR method? This is the baseline. It makes you sound like a robot. You need a STAR plus method. The plus stands for reflections. It proves you have a growth mindset and demonstrates ownership. I remember booming early Amazon interviews. They asked me about times where I have conflicts with managers. I gave a robotic STAR answers that basically says I was right and they were wrong. So that should not be the case. I come across as arrogant and difficult. I fail because I showed zero of ownerships or abilities to learn from disagreement. So let's see how the STAR Plus offers actually is a winning answer. The interviewers will ask you the question like this. Tell me about times a project you were on failed. So let's break it down. For example, in situations you can say, on critical projects, we had a major production outage 2 days after launch due to an unforeseen dependency conflict. Notice how I set a high strike. Critical projects, major outage. This makes the stories compelling. For tasks, you can say, my responsibilities were to lead the postmortems and ensure this never happened again. I clearly identify my roles and responsibility here. It is crucial for the ownership principle. Next, you will have your actions. You can say, I gathered data, did a BIM list root cause analysis, and discovers our integration testing environments that didn't accurately mirror productions. Because of that, I personally designed and implement a new containerized testing suite that replicates their production environment exactly. I use strong active verbs like I gather, I lead, I design. You should avoid the passive language like the team decides. Then we come with the result. You can say like, we haven't had a single outage of that type since then. And then 3 other teams have adopted this new testing suite. As you can see, the result is specific, measurable, and show impacts beyond just my immediate task. Next part, this one is new, reflections. For this part, you can say something like, the failures were painful, but it was my most valuable lessons in engineering. I learned that the true ownership is not just about writing the code. It's about owning the entire life cycles of service, especially its failure point. It fundamentally changed how I approach testings and deployments. And now I mentor junior engineers on this principle. This shows I am the reflective leader, not just a doer. That is the answers that get you hired. Now it is your turn. Pause these videos and write down the top 3 key bullet points for one of your own project stories using this STAR Plus framework. Do not just think it, write it down. This is an active skill. Now I want to hear from you. What is the toughest behavioral questions you have ever faced from the big tech company? Drop us a comment below. I will read it and maybe answer some of it as an example for you. So the key takeaway for this section is, don't just share what you did. Share the lesson you learned and how it makes you a better engineer. When you come to these sections, the interviews are almost over. The interviewer will say, "Do you have any question for us?" Most candidates relax in these sections. But this is a fatal mistake. Your question here is your final chance to prove your skills. Most questions I get from the interviewee is, what is the company culture like? It's so generic, right? And then, what is the tech stack? These ones I would expect you know already. Instead, ask questions that prove you are already thinking like a member of the team. Some strategic questions are like, what are the biggest technical challenges the team is facing in the next 6 months? And how would my role contribute to solving them? The success questions can be like, looking back a year from now, what would the persons in this role have accomplished to be considered a top performer? And now for the most unforgettable questions I teased earlier. You ask this after they have answered yours. Based on our conversations, do you have any reservations about my qualifications or my fit for the role? This shows incredible confidence and gives you a chance to address any final objections. So this brings us to the final payoff. For our audience, getting the offers is only half the battle. You want the best offer. There's the myth that the negotiations start after you get the offer. In fact, you are setting the stage of your negotiations throughout the entire interview process. By demonstrating senior level thinking, you are positioning yourself in the highest compensation band before they even make an offer. When the recruiter calls with the offer, they will often ask for your reactions. This is your moment. After express excitement, use this exact sentence. I'm very excited about the offers and the opportunities. Based on my research for the roles at this level and my performance in the interviews, the compensation is a bit lower than my expectations. Is there any flexibilities on the base salaries or equities components? This sentence is powerful because it's a professional, non-confrontational reference your high performance and open the doors for discussions without giving a hard number. This is how you increase your offers by 15% or more. So the key takeaways for this section is, the best engineers do not just solve problems. They confidently articulate their value. So as you can see, the framework is simple, right? First, you need to collaborate with the communications protocol. Then prove growth with the STARS Plus method. Then you demonstrate the values of your questions and negotiation holes. This framework is your foundations, but the ground is shifting under our feet. Big Tech just changed the interviewer's rule for 2025. The intense focus on abstract lead code is being replaced by practical system designs and domain-specific problem solving. If you are preparing like this is 2023, you are already behind. Don't get left behind. Click on the video on the screen now to learn exactly what changes and how to stay ahead of the competitions. So I will see you over there. Goodbye for now.